So this is probably a really random and strange game for me to talk about, but believe it or not, there is an interesting backstory behind this game's development. To begin with, we first need to talk about a man who had a huge part in creating this game and why it even exists. His name being Yoshiro Kimura, and I apologize if I mispronounced that. Yoshiro used to be an employee of Square, and had helped work on games such as Romancing Saga 2. Unfortunately, working in a busy office-like setting did not sit well with Yoshiro, causing him to quit the company and even planned on quitting working on games. After spending some time traveling the world, he came across a village in Peru, where he saw some kids playing an SNES, which sparked an interest for him to want to return to game design, but this time as an independent. Now, before he founded his own company called Punchline, Kimura, along with two other developers, were working for Love Day LIC, or LIC. Not quite sure how you pronounce it, and helped design the game Moon Remix RPG Adventure. Chulip would then be the first game to be made by Yoshiro's Punchline studio. What got me interested in this game in the first place was watching only the first hour of an LP of the game online, and from there, I just had to give this game a try myself. So, now after having played it, do I think Chulip is worth playing? Things all begin with a dream that our, hero is having, which involves him meeting a girl under a legendary lover's tree. Just as he locks lips with his lady, the young boy is woken up as him and his father have reached their new home in the small, Long Life town. As his father unpacks, he encourages his son to go out and meet the locals. Upon doing so, the boy stumbles across the girl from his dream. So, being young and naive, he tries to kiss her, only to be met with a firm slap to the face. A bit heartbroken over the ordeal, he goes to confront his father of the situation, who tells him he should try writing her a love letter. Listening to his father, the boy writes a letter, only to have the mailbox tell him it's awful. But not to worry, as the underground resident Mr. Suzuki, who told him this, will help him write a love letter that will capture her heart. Unfortunately though, an upset former employee steals Mr. Suzuki's treasured love letter set. So now it's up to the boy to find all the pieces of the letter set and to win the heart of his love. If you couldn't tell, the game has a bit of a quirky side to it, with an overall story that isn't all that serious. Though this is not at all a complaint, as the adventure you're put on is filled with lovable and memorable characters, with strange but entertaining events along the way. It's all very charming, as you'll do things like fix a gong in a graveyard, remove a rock off the train tracks, work at a factory, and make out with an onion woman. Like I had mentioned, there's a very colorful cast of characters in this game, like Beitan, a man who's looking for a job, Mr. Cheappot, the store owner, and Michelle, who will attack you upon entering her home, and many, many more. From beginning to end, I was very much enjoying the events throughout the game, and would have to say that the story is quite entertaining, with a pretty satisfying ending as well. Alright, so how to describe the gameplay of Chulip? I guess you could call it an adventure game? You will of course be playing as the boy, who, much like the love interest, you can give whatever name you want. In order to progress the game, you're going to need to go to the right locations, and interact and help the right people. I would say that about half the time, you're given some decent hints of what you need to do, or solving the solutions are pretty simple. On the other hand, things can be extremely vague, and knowing where to go next and what to do seems completely random, making you wonder how you were supposed to figure it out in the first place. Luckily for me, the copy of the game I picked up came with an instruction booklet, which includes a small but very useful walkthrough. For me personally, using a guide to play the game never took away some of the more entertaining events of the adventure. One of the big focuses of the game is exploration and interacting with all the villagers. Long Life Town is where you'll be spending lots of your time, as your home is here, which is your primary place where you can save and heal up. There are times where you'll be needing to go to shops, visit the doctor, use the train, and go into the park. Everything in the game focuses around time, as there is a day and night cycle, where some villagers will be out at night and stores will be open during the day. Even villagers will be walking around and doing different things at different times throughout the day, which certainly helps make the world feel more alive. Thankfully, you're given a clock to let you know what time it is, as that's very important since sometimes you can only interact with certain underground residents for only a few hours. This of course takes us to the second biggest aspect of the game, Kissing. Hearts are what represent the boy's health, and in order to increase that number, you're going to need to kiss more people. Okay, let me explain. Every time you go to sleep, the lover's tree lets you know how many more people you need to kiss to make your heart stronger. Having a strong heart is very important in this game, as you can die and there are plenty of things that can hurt you, such as a police officer when doing night patrol, angry underground residents, and even finding poop. Yeah, you're gonna want to dig through some garbages to find items to sell, which does put you at risk of finding, well, poop. Now, while you do have a kiss button, you can't just go around kissing people left and right. There are two different kinds of people you can kiss though, underground residents and villagers. Underground residents will come out of their holes at very specific times all around the game's world, and each will require you to do something specific to make them happy in order to earn a kiss from them, like jumping off a springboard and surviving, not wearing any clothes, waiting for a box to be open, and so on and so forth. By kissing certain underground residents, you can earn some new skills and perks, like being able to run, getting a bathroom cleaned, and even one resident who fixes your clock so you can adjust it to whatever time you want to wake up at. Then we have villagers, and for the most part you need to do a series of tasks to earn a kiss from a villager, but they are usually longer and you'll get the kiss automatically, rather than having to wait for them to be happy. Here is where a lot of the game's confusion comes from, and it can be almost impossible to figure out how to make people happy in order to kiss them. And this is why I recommend playing with a guide, as actually making people happy can be pretty challenging. Some residents that will easily annoy you because of how obtuse or hard it is to make them happy would be Jamtrack 415, Turtle Boy, 20-year-old guy, and Jigsaw, and those are just a few. Not only that, but there will be many times when you'll have to just wait for time to pass, as you can only do certain things at specific times, like waiting for the train. Thankfully, landing kisses is very satisfying and rewarding once you finally get them. Plus, you will fill up a picture book every time you kiss an underground resident, which is an extra little bit of fun. Now, I do want to bring up one more issue I have, and that involves these cards you get throughout the game. Without giving away too much, there is a quiz at the end of the game, and the only way you will know the answers to most of these questions is by getting everyone's card, and these cards are only for villagers. This process really isn't explained early on at all, and to me it kinda comes out of nowhere, so yeah, it's a huge problem I have with the game when it comes towards the end. The game has a very interesting art style that makes many of the characters look almost puppet-like. While a lot of the designs are simple, they are also very memorable and honestly just make the game more endearing, kinda like Animal Crossing. The animations are nothing too complex, but they still do a good job at conveying characters' actions and personalities. I also enjoy the series of distinct sounds each character makes when talking. Most of them aren't too annoying to me, and each really help make the characters pop out more. Of all the locations you visit, I would say the factory is the least interesting, but that's mostly because of how it compares to more atmospheric places like Long Life Town and Worldly Desire Temple. There's a great combination of ambient sounds and music in the game, like how you can hear birds call from time to time. The music itself all has this fun and quirky style, mixed with some acapella to it that not only fits the game's tone, but is some great music to listen to on its own with some very memorable themes. I would say that Hirofumi Taniguchi did a really great job in the soundtrack to Chulip, and I apologize if I really butchered that name. So would I recommend Chulip? Yes, I absolutely would. Okay, I completely understand that this is not an easy game to recommend. After all, the gameplay isn't something that might appeal to a lot of people. Not to mention the game does have some notable flaws, like how you kinda need a walkthrough to know how to progress, waiting around for a certain time can be annoying and dull, and there are a few underground residents who have really tight timing and tasks for you to do in order to kiss them, along with a complete bullshit quiz at the end of the game. But, in spite of all that, there are many charming and lovable characters, a great sense of exploration and getting familiar with locations and villagers, some fun puzzles, unique and an enjoyable soundtrack, and most of all, the whole kissing concept is fun and rewarding. I won't lie, I love this game, and I can see why it's a bit of a cult hit. The game's a story about love and the bizarre journey you go on to get that special kiss. It's a shame this game didn't do so great here in the States, or even Japan. Punchline only made one other game after this, that being Rule of Rose, which is currently my favorite horror game. Since then, Kimura moved over to Marvelous Entertainment, at least last that I've heard. If you'd like to know more about this game and its developer and the history behind it, I would suggest going over to Hardcore Gaming 101. At least that's the website I came across with this information. It's also got a really good walkthrough for any of you who want to play this game. Someday in the future, I would really like to see Yoshiro spearhead a new game again. But in the meantime, you really should do yourself a favor and play Chulip, a strange little game all about kissing.